The 15th of Av is the most mysterious day. A search of the Shulchan Aruch code of the Jewish law reveals no observance or customs for this date, except for the instructions that the Tachanun, confession of sins, and similar portions should be omitted from the daily prayers, as is the case with all festival dates, and that one should increase one's study of Torah, since the nights are beginning to grow longer, and the night was created for study. The Talmud tells us that many years ago, the daughters of Jerusalem would go dance in the vineyards. On the 15th of Av, whoever did not have a wife would go there to find themselves a bride. And the Talmud considers this the greatest festival of the year, with Yom Kippur close around. As the full moon of the month of Av, it is a festival of the future redemption, marking the end of the tragedy that marred the first part of the month. Until this day, we held Siyumim and gave charity each day to mitigate our sadness and hasten the redemption. But on the 15th of Av, this is no longer. 45 days before Rosh Hashanah, this is also the first day on which we begin to wish each other a ketiva v'chatmacha tova, to be signed and sealed for a good year. Tu B'Av, which is the 15th day of Av. 1. The dancing maidens of Jerusalem. Said Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, there were no greater festivals for Israel than the 15th of Av and Yom Kippur. On these days, the daughters of Jerusalem would go out and dance in the vineyards. And what would they say? Young man, raise your eyes and see what you have selected for yourself. Talmud Tanit 26b. The Talmud goes on to list several joyous events which occurred on the 15th day of the month of Av. 2. The dying of the generation of Exodus ceased. Several months after the people of Israel were freed from Egyptian slavery, the incident of the spies demonstrated their unpreparedness for the task of conquering the land of Canaan and developing it as the Holy Land. God decreed that the entire generation would die out in the desert, and that the children would enter in their stead, as recounted in Numbers 13 and 14. After 40 years of wandering through the wilderness, the dying finally ended, and a new generation of Jews stood ready to enter the Holy Land. It was the 15th of Av and the year 2487 from creation, 1274 BCE. As long as members of this doomed generation were still alive, God didn't communicate with Moses in an efficient manner. As soon as the last of these men died, once again God lovingly communicated with Moses. 3. The tribes of Israel were permitted to intermarry. In order to ensure the orderly division of the Holy Land between the 12 tribes of Israel, restrictions had to be placed on marriages between members of the two different tribes. A woman who had inherited tribal lands from her father was forbidden to marry out of her tribe, lest her children, members of their father's tribe, cause the transfer of land from one tribe to another by inheriting her estate, as recounted in Numbers 36. This ordinance was binding on the generation that conquered and settled the Holy Land. When the restrictions was lifted on the 15th of Av, the event was considered a cause for celebration and festivity. 4. The tribe of Benjamin was permitted to re-enter the community. On this date, the tribe of Benjamin, which had been excommunicated for its behavior in the incident of concubine at Givah, was readmitted into a community of Israel, as related in Judges 19 through 21. This occurred during the judgeship of Othniel ben Kenaz, who led the people of Israel in the years 2533 through 2573 from creation, 1228 through 1188 BCE. 5. Hoshea ben Elah opened the road to Jerusalem. Upon the division of the Holy Land into two kingdoms, following the death of King Shlomo in the year 2964, from creation 797 BCE, Yerovam ben Nevat, ruler of the breakaway northern kingdom of Israel, set up roadblocks to prevent his citizens from making a thrice-yearly pilgrimage to the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, capital of the southern kingdom of Yehuda. These were finally removed more than 200 years later by Hoshea ben Elah, the last king of the northern kingdom, on Av 15, 3187, which also could be read as 574 BCE. 6. The dead of Beitar were allowed to be buried. The fortress of Beitar was the last holdout of the Bar Kokhba rebellion. When Beitar fell on the 9th of Av, 3893, which could be reset as 133 CE, Bar Kokhba and many thousands of Jews were killed. The Romans massacred the survivors of the battle with great cruelty, and will not even allow the Jews to bury the dead. The dead of Beitar were finally brought to burial on the 15th of Av, 3908, or 148 CE. In addition, blessing, Chatov V'Chametiv, was added to the graves after meals in commemoration. 7. The day of the breaking of the axe. When the Holy Temple stood in Jerusalem, the annual cutting of firewood for the altar was concluded on the 15th of Av. The event was celebrated with feasting, rejoicing, as in the custom upon the conclusion of the holy endeavor, and included with a ceremonial breaking of the axes, which gave the day its name. Thank you for listening and have a great day.